say the Transformers franchise is possibly one of the most inconsistent film franchises in the entire industry is a little bit of an understatement. This franchise has gone through some very high highs while also going through some incredibly low lows. And after the release of the recent animated feature film, Transformers 1, was the perfect inspiration for me making this video. Today I'm gonna be ranking every single Transformers film. To be more specific, I'm mainly gonna be talking about the live action films and the 2 animated feature films. This was definitely an interesting ride. It's been a while since I've watched all these movies, especially in one sitting, which is possibly the most agonizing thing I've done in quite a while. I hope you'll enjoy me suffering through watching a lot of these shitty ass movies because oh boy, this franchise just goes absolutely fucking nuts after a while. I think the best way to do this is starting from the worst film and ending it with the best film in the franchise, which unfortunately brings us to talking about our first film in this list. I mean, what do you even want me to say about this? What hasn't been already said about Transformers The Last Night? Shit, I'm even having a hard time trying to even come up with something to say about it because there's quite literally not a single thing redeemable about this film. It is an absolute colossal fucking failure in every sense of the word. It's awfully written, it's not well directed whatsoever, the performances are quite possibly some of the worst in the entire franchise, the story is absolutely ludicrous, it makes no goddamn sense. It's very clear that this movie was originally not a Transformers movie, but then after some shit happened, I don't know what it could have possibly happened behind the scenes, that it just somehow turned into a Transformers movie. Again, I don't know how that happened, but there are some glaring pieces in this movie that insinuate to that being the case. Mark Wahlberg's character takes the cake as possibly one of the worst fucking characters in the entire Transformers franchise, and believe me, there are some really god-awful characters in this franchise, so that's possibly the one accomplishment that this movie has. This movie has well-renowned actor Anthony Hopkins in it. It is just the most ridiculous shit I've seen from this actor. I mean, it's clear that the actor is kind of having a little bit of fun with this shitty ass material, but still, it is so odd to seeing such an incredible actor, Anthony fucking Hopkins, doing the most ridiculous shit I've seen him do in his entire filmography. Now, I'll say this, if there's one memorable thing in this movie, is the scene where Megatron just shoots the fuck out of Anthony Hopkins' character. It's so fucking stupid, it makes me laugh so hard every time I see it.
You wretched human.
What makes it truly funny is, if you have no context, it just looks like there's an old random guy in this movie that's just wandering around this scene questioning what the fuck is even happening, and then out of nowhere Megatron comes out and shoots him in the ass. It's like, also the aspect ratio constantly changing in this scene. Well, not only is in this scene, but in the entire movie as a whole, that is one of the most infamous things about this film, is that this film just cuts to different aspect ratios every fucking 3 seconds, and it is the most disorienting shit imaginable. It is so disorienting that it completely takes me out of the whole fucking experience, which, I mean, it's not like there was already that much of an experience with how fucking god-awful this movie is. It was the one movie that I was just waiting for it to be done. This movie fucking sucks. I hate it. I don't want to watch it ever again. This film is absolutely the worst of the entire franchise.
I'm going to turn into a truck now.
Transformers Age of Extinction is boring. That's the best thing I can describe this movie, because other than that, there's also nothing much to say about it. It's such an unremarkable film in any capacity. Like I said, this franchise is filled with so many god-awful characters, but for some reason, the movies that have Mark Wahlberg in it just have some of the worst. I mean, that includes his character, who is such a cookie-cutter nothing character. Like, you have a character that literally wishes absolutely nothing. By that logic, it's like, why am I supposed to care about this character's journey when the character just seems perfectly fine in the state that they are? This character has zero motivations or aspirations. It's a boring character, it's an annoying character. Also, I can't stand Mark Wahlberg, so that also doesn't help. TJ Miller is in this film, and he is exactly what you would think a TJ Miller character would be in a Transformers movie. It's the exact same character he plays in any other movie. It's insufferable. The best thing about this movie is that they kill his ass off really quickly, so that's like the best thing this movie has, and it's the one point that I'll give it. This movie's just so fucking bad. It's mind-numbingly boring, like I said. It's super long as well. It is so long, it feels like it's never going to end. Anytime I think this movie is going to end, the movie just kind of does a twist on me and says, oh no, there's still much more bullshit to talk about here. It's like, I don't want more. Can we please fucking stop it? Also, I'll just say this, and I forgot to mention this when I was talking about the last night. I absolutely fucking hate the designs of these Transformers. Both the Decepticons and the Autobots, I just cannot stand these god-awful designs. I can't stand the designs in any of the Michael Bay movies, if I'm being completely honest, but they are especially horrible to look at in Age of Extinction and The Last Night, because they are so hard to identify who any of these characters are, because they are so over designed. When I'm having a hard time figuring out who are the good guys and who are the bad guys, that's a huge problem. When I can't even see what a character's face is, that is a problem. This also has to be possibly the worst Optimus design. I mean, I get what they're going for, but it still looks like shit. I fucking hate it. The best character in this movie is Stanley Tucci's character. Again, not an incredibly remarkable character whatsoever, but at least it feels like he's bringing some sort of, I don't know, personality to his character.
Alien bomb coming through! Clear the way! Clear the way! Hi, kids. Excuse me, ladies. Excuse me. Oh my God! How do you say get the fuck out of the way in Chinese?
He's also like the one character that actually kind of has an arc throughout it. It's the most surprising thing about this movie. It's like, wow, a Transformers movie where a human character has an arc? Shocking! Also, this movie has Dinobots, which in concept, it's like the coolest shit ever, but they come so fucking late into the picture that it's like, I don't care. By this point, I am so fucking over this movie that I'm just waiting for it to end. It's not as bad as The Last Night, but seeing it's not as bad as The Last Night, it's like the most backhanded comment you can give this film. It's still so fucking bad. Another movie that I have no desire to go back to revisit anytime soon, or really ever. Also, this movie has the Romeo and Juliet law scene in it, which already makes this movie 10 times creepier.
How old are you?
20.
She's a 17-year-old girl. This is illegal. She's a minor.
We're protected by the Romeo and Juliet laws.
Texas statute? That a real law?
This movie did not need this, and the fact that the movie is trying to explain and excuse this, what are you trying to say, Michael Bay? I mean, I know you didn't write this, but the fact that you still said okay to this is like concerning. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. This movie fucking sucks.
Any bad robot out there better get ready for an ass whooping.
Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen is a very funny movie. Not because it's genuinely funny, but because it is so fucking stupid that it makes it borderline hilarious. Again, don't mistake me for what I'm saying, okay? This movie is bad. It is a shit show of a movie. The movie was written during a strike, so it makes sense, the quality of it. Also, it was mostly written by Michael Bay, which we know is not a good writer, so that explains a lot of the bullshit in this film. But because of this, we have been graced with possibly the funniest movie in this fucking franchise. I mean, that scene alone where Sam is tweaking in his college class, it is so fucking funny because it just looks like Shia LaBeouf is going fucking crazy.
Break down the elemental components of energon, assume a constant K rating, extrapolate reach of the took the Sentinel Prime expedition, receiving
Oh, it's such comedy gold. Also, this movie does have a few sequences that are genuinely kind of fun. The whole Devastator sequence I think is cool. Even knowing some of the behind the scenes that went into making the Devastator is genuinely fucking crazy. The fact that at least fucking 5 or 6 computers melted to its fucking core trying to render this shit is both astonishing and really fucking hilarious. But the Devastator itself has a really cool design, and I like all the little things that they do with this character. Even though it's not in the movie for long, I still like what they do with this creature. Now, the problem with this movie is that it has a lot of other bullshit that is just insufferable. The Transformers movies are infamous for a lot of things, but one of the things that they are most infamous for is for being incredibly racist. This movie has possibly the worst racist caricatures of black people with mud flaps and skips.
Oh, I think he's scared.
What are we gonna do with this shrimp taco?
No, just bump a cap in his ass, throw him in the truck, and then nobody gonna know nothing, not me.
Yeah, not in my trunk.
Their entire characteristics is just being stereotypical black caricatures. Also, the fact that these two characters were voiced by 2 white people, one of them, which was Tom Kenny, voice of SpongeBob, is like, fucking why? This movie is bad, man. It's so bad, and it is agonizing to watch a lot of times. But it also has a lot of really funny moments. A lot of funny moments that obviously were not intended to be funny, but still ended up being funny nonetheless. So I gotta give that movie credit for that at least. But still, it's bullshit. This movie's still not good, and I really do not want to ever see it again. It's just, no.
Yeah, enjoy your next job at 7-Eleven, dickhead.
Transformers Dark of the Moon is often regarded as the best of the Michael Bay Transformers films, which doesn't mean much, but hey, after a while, one of it has to come out at least somewhat not a piece of shit, while simultaneously somehow still being a piece of shit. I get it. This movie's not awful, but it's still not good. It still has a lot of flaws. It still has so many of the issues that I still have with all the other Michael Bay Transformers movies. I was getting a little bit fatigued watching Revenge of the Fallen. By the time I got to Dark of the Moon, I was fucking tired. I was like, why did I put myself through this? I want to be done with this already. Now, what I'm about to say might be a little bit controversial, but I am not a fan of the action sequences in these movies. I know, right? That really hot take. Now, I'm not alone in that, but what I mean by it is that there are a few action sequences here and there in the movies that are actually kind of cool looking. The problem is that most of them are incredibly incomprehensible, where half the time I don't even know what the fuck is going on, or who's even fighting who. It has to be a combination of the choreography, but also the overuse of explosions, and the sound design. I'm not a fan of the sound design in these movies. Now, in the first movie, I kind of enjoyed the sound design. I feel like it's kind of cool here and there. The problem is that it gets old really quickly. It just becomes tiresome and grueling to hear. And then the problem is that some of these fuckers, especially the Decepticons, while they're transforming and shooting, they start growling and roaring and shit. So you're constantly hearing. It's like, oh my god, my head! So yeah, it's not fun, at least for me. That is my hot take when it comes to the Michael Bay Transformers movies. But is it really a hot take? Maybe, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know anymore with these movies. The one scene that I always remember from this movie, and it's not because it's really any good, it's because it's funny. Now, I know the scene's not supposed to be funny. I get that it's supposed to be a really dramatic and kind of serious moment, but it's the scene when Optimus kills Sentinel Prime. This scene is hilarious because with or without context, it just looks fucking ridiculous. It just looks like Optimus Prime is shooting an elderly Transformer. It's like so fucked up, but at the same time kind of hilarious. It's like, I feel bad for laughing at this, but also I don't feel bad for laughing at it because first of all, Sentinel Prime is a villain in this, but also because it's framed and also taken so seriously that it just crosses it to the line of goofiness.
You betrayed yourself.
No, Optimus!
Also, the fact that during this scene, Sentinel is begging for mercy. He's like, no! Optimus, wait! It's like, calm down. I mean, I know you're about to die, but calm your ass down. And like these movies tend to be, it's racist, it's misogynistic, it's a Michael Bay Transformers movie. What do you want me to say? So while it might not be the worst of the Michael Bay Transformers movies, it's still not good. And when I hear people say, oh, this is actually kind of good, it's like, I mean, okay, to each their own, but to me, this is still some old bullshit. Like, this is still not good. But hey, that's just me, okay?
You got the touch. You got the power.
I'm actually not ready to talk about this one because I know this is possibly going to be the most controversial one out of my entire ranking, but I gotta be honest with y'all, I don't love the original 1986 animated Transformers film. Now wait before you go after me, you gotta understand one thing. I did not grow up with the movie, okay? The way I grew up with Transformers was through the Michael Bay movies. And when I got to watch the original animated film, I was like, this isn't bad, but it also didn't leave that much of an impression on me other than the famous spoiler alert. I mean, is it really a spoiler if the movie's that fucking old? The death of Optimus Prime, it's like, that's like the most iconic thing about that movie. I mean, children cried during that movie because of that reason alone. So I mean, I'm not even trying to downplay this movie's impact whatsoever, but to me it's just kind of like, it's not bad, but I'm also not in love with it. There's a few things that I do like about it. I do like some of the characters in it, but again, most of the characters are also kind of forgettable. It's like a very 50-50 when it comes to these characters, both its heroes and its villains. Like, oh, like half of these guys are really cool and half of these guys are really boring and uninteresting. The animation is actually kind of good. While it still feels like it's part of the style of the animated show, you can still see that it is slightly improved animation from the actual cartoon. So that is cool. But if there is one thing that I absolutely do love about this film, is Orson Welles as Unicron. I mean, that shit is amazing, okay? And again, I don't even fuck with this movie like a lot of people do, but if there's one thing that I would definitely revisit this movie for, is to hear Orson Welles' voice as Unicron. That shit was just fucking badass. I absolutely loved it.
I am Unicron. I have summoned you here for a purpose. Nobody summons Megatron. Then it pleases me to be the first.
Again, please guys, don't hate me for this. I don't hate the movie, okay? It's just not my vibe, and y'all are really gonna hate me after the movie that I'm gonna talk about next.
I ate the whole plate. The whole plate.
The first Michael Bay Transformers movie. Transformers 2007. I'll be honest with y'all, I kinda enjoy this movie. Now, it's not to say that it's perfect, okay? No. This movie still has a lot of the problems that a lot of the other Michael Bay Transformers movies have, but this one has it to a lesser extent. So I'll give it credit for that alone. This is where I grew up knowing Transformers and my experience with Transformers growing up. So I have more of a soft spot for this movie than I have for the original 1986 animated film. That's why it's above that film, okay? So you can already stop judging me. I already know you're still gonna judge me, so I don't even know why I'm trying. One of the things that I enjoy the most about this film is how Optimus is characterized. The problem I have with Optimus in every other Michael Bay Transformers movies is that he just becomes a warmongering psycho killer. Like, I didn't watch much of the original cartoon, but the bits that I did watch, I was like, Optimus is a really optimistic guy. I mean, it says it in the name, obviously. You get bits of that in the first Michael Bay film. I mean, that scene where Sam has to find Ford the glasses and you just see these big ass giant robots trying to sneak around, and there's just something so funny about Optimus saying, "Oops, my bad."
Oops, sorry, my bad.
Oh, no. This is my mother's...
Ironhide, you know we don't harm humans. What is with you? Well, I'm just saying we could.
Sam is not a good character. I'll say this. Even growing up watching these movies, I never liked Sam as a character. I always thought that he was either annoying or just kind of there. Like, I never really cared about this guy ever. Again, even as a kid, I didn't care for him. Now, the one character that I actually cared in this film was surprisingly Megan Fox's character. The main character is so fucking useless here, and Megan Fox is actually doing shit here. Like, I commend the movie for that. It's too bad that Revenge of the Fallen completely shits on that, and after that, she's just eye candy for the male audience. It's fucking insufferable. But hey, at least she gets to do more in this film. This movie has some cool action sequences, but the movie does suffer a bit from that clutterness of I don't know what the fuck is going on half the time. There's too many explosions to where I'm disorienting and it's kind of hurting my fucking head. Now you might be wondering why I haven't talked about the story in any of these movies. It's because they're all the same shit. It's always about, oh, we need to go find this MacGuffin and then get this other MacGuffin, and then there's a bad Transformer, and then the good guys defeat that bad Transformer. It's like, I get it, that's every blockbuster movie ever, but the Transformers movies just go above and beyond it by making it just incredibly insufferable. That's why I haven't talked about any of the stories in any of the Michael Bay movies. It's because they're all the same shit. Even the first movie, which I like, does the same shit. So I'm sorry for not talking about the deep storytelling of the live-action Michael Bay Transformers movies. This movie has a lot of funny moments, and some of them are intentional and some of them are not. So it's like a 50-50 of like, wow, this is genuinely funny, or wow, this is so fucking dumb that it's hilarious.
They gonna come through that door and be good cop, bad cop. Don't fall for that, all right?
She did! She did it! She's the one you want! Alright, I was just sitting at home watching cartoons, playing video games with my cousin, and she came in.
This movie is so inconsistent in so many ways, but I still really like it. I still enjoy it for what it is. even if what it is isn't perfect, I still have a blast every time I revisit it. And it is a movie that I do find myself revisiting at least more than usual. So while it might not be perfect, it is still an enjoyable, fun ride.
Let them come.
Transformers Rise of the Beast is pretty good. Now, is it amazing? No, but in my opinion, I think this is the closest we'll ever get to really having a live-action Transformers movie that is not embarrassed in being a Transformers movie. I genuinely have so much fun watching this movie, and this movie has genuinely good human characters. Hallelujah! The human characters actually have motivations and actually have something to fight for, where Sam is just kind of stupid and useless and I fucking hate him and he's annoying. Mark Wahlberg's character, he's forgettable and he's actually like genuinely a horrible fucking human being. Both a character and the actor. Here the human characters are actually enjoyable to watch. They actually have motivations, they actually have character arcs, and I like the Transformers here. I especially love the designs of the Transformers in this movie because I can actually differentiate them from each one another, both the Autobots and the Terracon. These designs are so fucking cool, and I really love that as these movies go on, they start to take more inspiration from the G1 designs, which are simple to identify, are simple to follow, and the action sequences in this movie are actually a lot of fun. They're enjoyable to watch, they're easy to follow. Now, where does it falter? The villains are kinda, they're movie villains. I think Peter Dinklage does the voice of Scourge in this movie. Oh boy, he could give less of a fuck in this movie. I mean, he is not doing his best performance, if I'm being completely honest. And I would be lying if I said that this movie has some pacing issues at the beginning. It does take a while to actually get going, but when it starts going, boy, it just doesn't fucking stop. This movie also has a lot of hype moments. But there's one particular moment where Optimus confronts Scourge. The way the scene is framed, but the voice performance of Peter Cullen just adds so much to it. Even if it does kind of fall into that warmongering Optimus a little bit, I still really enjoy it because of how fucking badass it is.
I'm going to take back Scourge's key and then take off his head.
Again, it's not a perfect movie, but I do have so much fun with it, and I do believe that it is a genuinely good live-action Transformers movie. And it is one that I actually recommend most people to watch, like more than even like 2007 Transformers by Michael Bay. This is a true live-action Transformers movie. If you want a Transformers movie that is as close to being as a live-action interpretation of the old Transformers cartoon, dude, this is it right here. So if you have not watched it, give it a chance because it is at least fun to watch. Oh my god, Bumblebee's so fucking good! I think this movie is absolutely great. I love it. It's so sweet and adorable, but also it's kind of badass and cool. I love it. Now, I'll be honest, I do have a little bit of a bias with these type of stories. The Kid and Its Dog or The Kid and Its Robot. Like, very Iron Giant-esque in a way. This movie does have so many parallels and so many moments that are very much like the Iron Giant, but it still does its own thing to where it's not a complete rip-off of that movie. Also, Bumblebee's adorable. I fucking love him. I think he's the cutest shit ever. And this movie also uses the transformation in a lot of really creative ways that we never see these Transformers actually do in any of the other movies. So the fact that this movie really explores what these Autobots can do while transforming or during transformations is really cool. I also like the human characters in this movie. I mean, John Cena is actually kind of a fun character. Even though he's kind of an antagonist in the movie, I do understand him, and I do end up enjoying his character throughout the film. And, of course, Haley Steinfeld as Charlie. She's funny, and the friendship that she creates with Bumblebee is, again, the sweetest, most adorable, most heartwarming shit I've seen in this entire franchise, which is so fucking rare from this franchise. This franchise is usually so far from adorable and heartwarming that getting to this movie is always such a treat. God, I love it so much. The 80s references can get a little bit egregious from time to time, but I still don't mind them that much. They are a little bit bothersome in a few scenes here and there, but again, it's not something that really detracts that many points for the movie, to me at least. I know it's not everybody's cup of tea, but to me, it is the second best Transformers movie. Really, I have nothing much more to say. That's how great this movie is. If you haven't watched it, I don't know what you're doing here. Go watch it because it is genuinely such a fun movie. Again, it's funny, it's heartwarming, it has so much love and soul put into it. It's a blast. I could not recommend it anymore. Transformers 1. Now, a lot of people might say that this is just some recency bias, but hear me out. I truly believe this film is the best Transformers movie ever, which is ironic because it doesn't start that way. I mean, I already mentioned this in my review, link in the description, yes, shameless plug, that the movie does start very kiddish. You know how those trailers really give the impression that this movie was going to be for little kids? The movie does start like that. Like the first 5 to 10 minutes of the movie are what you thought the movie was gonna be based on those trailers. But then after that, like, I would say that specifically when the race happens, that is the moment the movie really takes off. And when the movie goes from a kiddish movie to a legitimate fucking masterpiece, it's like, I don't know how the fuck they did this. Such a 180 of what this movie felt like it was going to be in those first 5 to 10 minutes, and then it turned around and said, fuck you, we are about to be the best Transformers movie ever. I love the relationship between Aryan Pax and D16. This friendship turned rivalry is the most tragic shit I've seen in a movie in quite a while. I mean, I knew it was gonna happen. We knew that this movie was going to be an origin of not only Transformers in general, but of the fall of the friendship between Optimus and Megatron, and them becoming those iconic characters. That is the core of the movie. The core of this movie is that relationship. It's that friendship. And when it starts to fall apart, it is legitimately heart-wrenching and heartbreaking. Like, just thinking about it just makes my heart like hurt right now. Like it's hurting. It's still hurting even after watching it like a couple of times. It still does not get any better. I know some of the humor didn't work for everybody, but I actually thought the movie was really funny. I'm like one of the few people that actually thinks the Badassatron bit is like hilarious. So that's me.
I'm actually working on some nicknames. The one I'm floating right now is Badassatron, which is actually pronounced
Badassatron.
It's a legitimately funny movie, but it's also very Shakespearean, and it's dramatic. I mean, this movie has so many moments, so many scenes that I'm like, whoa, that legitimately made me gasp when I watched the movie the first time. I was like, oh my god, they are doing this. D16's transition to Megatron, a lot of people say it went too fast, but to me, I thought it was perfect. But the one scene in this movie that I absolutely love is when Megatron and Optimus Prime are born. It's so impactful, it's so dramatic in all the right ways.
I am Megatron! Arise! Optimus Prime.
This movie's just so fucking amazing. I love it. And it's such a shame that it didn't do great at the box office. I mean, I know that it's doing better now, especially after Transformers Hype Guy was really doing all the marketing job for this movie. I'm just hoping that with the combination of the box office and the rental and digital sales, I'm hoping, really hoping that grants we get a sequel, even a trilogy for this. This has so much potential to expand their story even more that it's just I need this trilogy. Goddamn, I'm like at the edge of my seat waiting what they would do with the other two movies. It's still left to see if they'll ever happen, but I'm begging, please, for the love of God, we need Transformers 2 and Transformers 3. So yes, I absolutely love this film. I think it's amazing. Everybody should watch it. If you have not watched it, what the fuck are you doing? Get the fuck out of here and go watch Transformers 1, because it is legitimately one of the best Transformers movies ever, and honestly, I'll go even further than that. It is one of the best movies of the year, which is something that I had no idea I was ever gonna say in my entire life, but man, I'm so happy that this film proved me wrong, that said, no Diego, we are actually cooking some real shit here, and boy did they cook. So yes, I love the movie. Go watch it if you haven't. Do it. You will not regret watching this amazing film.
Now is the time for us to stand up together as one.
And that was my ranking of all the Transformers movies. Did you agree with my ranking? I know that some of you are possibly not gonna agree with some of these, but what did you think of my ranking? Did you like it? Did you hate it? What would you change? How would you arrange your ranking? Let me know down in the comments. I really want to know what you guys think. This was a really fun video to make, even though it was really hard to get through those Michael Bay movies because, boy, they are not good. Like, watching those movies was really when I started to question what I was doing and why I was doing it. And then when I got to Bumblebee, I was like, oh, this is why I'm doing this. Because after the Michael Bay movies, these movies just increase in quality in grandiose extremes. And it's like, oh my god, it's so good to be rewarded with actually good Transformers movies after experiencing so much bullshit. But anyways, thank you all so much for watching. And like always, good day, good night, and stay safe.